Welcome back to Inside Boxing's Throwdown. This is our final segment of this week where we're going to be talking a whole lot about the amateur boxing, the scene here in the United States as well as international. But before we get to that, let's talk about some hot topics. And in this case, not so hot. Steve, you know that next weekend is going to be kind of a slow weekend. We don't have anything on HBO, anything on Showtime. We don't have any boxing to look forward to. So this might be one of them weekends that you want to take Mamacita out and keep her happy. And
probably not. You probably want to get out there and get some of that yard work done, get ready for something. You can do that with Mamacita if you want to. Get ready to get that yard work done for the summer because, you know, 4th of July is going to be here pretty soon. I mean, you know, this year is just zooming by, so there'll be plenty of things to keep you busy. We're both a little bit confused about this. I mean, this is a weekend coming up where you won't have HBO, you don't have Showtime, you don't have Al Heyman and his.
I don't think there's any boxing coming up.
Premier Boxing Channel's not going to be going on, so I guess everybody decided we need a break, take the weekend off.
It might be a good time for people to go see local boxing in their local town and watch the club fights action. You know.
Well, speaking of that, we don't even have anything here this weekend in Denver coming up. So I guess everybody decided to take the weekend off, you know. Hey. But you know what? We do have some information that just came out this morning that I'm sure all of you amateur boxing fans, I'm sorry, all of you Olympic-style boxing fans have been aware of that this morning that IEBA president, Dr. C.K. Wu, he fired his executive director, Mr. Ho Kim.
Yeah, we're gonna before we get into the amateur thing, let's just mention real quick that the boxing lost a good referee.
Yes.
In Frank Cappuccino, he was a good referee, did his job well, and he's going to be sorely missed by the boxing audience out there. So
yes,
rest in peace, my man.
Yes, rest in peace, Frank. And I believe he's about 84 years old, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was in his 80s somewhere, but like you said, good referee and sure didn't want to let that get away without mentioning that.
Yeah, Frank Cappuccino. Yeah, he's a good guy. But anyhow, let's get into this the amateur scene, and we'll call it amateur scene because we're in the United States and it's still amateur. When you talk international and IEBA, well, IEBA frowns when you refer to amateur boxing as amateur boxing. But hey, it is what it is. Amateur boxing is amateur boxing, regardless if they don't want to acknowledge that anymore. Or not. It's amateur boxing is amateur boxing. So go ahead and continue with well,
it was just that, you know, unexpectedly. I mean, Dr. Wu and Ho Kim have been attached at the hip during this whole period of transitioning in the last 5-6 years from, like I said, from wanting no reference to amateur boxing as far as AIBA is concerned. It's Olympic style boxing. Starting the WSB and the APB, World Series of Boxing, and the AIBA Pro Boxing. This was all Dr. Wu and in conjunction with Ho Kim. And for the release that AIBA put out earlier this morning said basically that actually said that the termination is effective immediately.
Yeah.
So something seriously happened to radio. And I mean, I can't see where you can sugarcoat this any kind of way. Something serious happened. And now I do know that in the past couple of months that Ho Kim, the former executive director of AIBA, was embroiled in some controversy with both Samoa and with the Philippines. And what it seems like the whole controversy revolves around is that the powers that be in those two countries, as like we had here in the United States, both had a problem with these boxers competing in the WSB, having them named as considered just amateurs and not that pro record, not their losses or wins not counting on a pro record.
Right.
And most of them, just like we had the big controversy, remember here with the WSB down in Florida, the Florida Athletic Commission, as you remember, said they fight here and they get paid. They're professionals.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a thing going there, but Dr. Wu in his statement he mentioned something about the fact that they wanted to stay on the course of their 4-year plan. and everyone had to be on board on the 4-year plan. So I don't see what Ho Kim could have said would derail from the 4-year plan.
It's kind of confusing because he also mentioned that they look forward to moving into a new direction. So that doesn't make sense. They've created all this drama in amateur boxing worldwide, and it especially affected the United States. It hit the United States hard with the new rules, the international rules that USA Boxing kind of had their hands tied and had to follow, because it really did create a lot of controversy here in the United States with amateurs. It kind of shut the door on a lot of folks. So Steve, they were actually going in a new direction. So now all of a sudden they want to go in a new direction. You know, this is all speculation because we don't know. But I'm gonna tell you what, Steve. I'm kind of reading between the lines, and I'm kind of telling you that there's some turmoil going in within the AIBA organization, because you got to remember, AIBA has, I believe, 209 federation members. Okay, United States being one, and then you've got the Americas. All around the world, they got 209 federations where they control. So they've got a lot of people, a lot of countries, a lot of interest, putting a lot of money into this whole new format that's supposedly supposed to change amateur boxing, or I should say not change, do away with amateur boxing and make it all Olympic style competition. Okay, but my opinion, it's not happening, and I'm gonna tell you why I feel it's not happening. And no one's brought this out, but this is just me kind of reading between the lines. Is you can have a worldwide organization, okay, but if you don't have the powers, the financial powers, and the exposure that you need, that comes through the United States. That was 10 minutes. We got 3 minutes, right? Okay. So anyhow, they have that, and they have not been able to break the ice to get the United States on board with this new format of Olympic style boxing. And that's because United States still loves their amateurs, and they're always going to love their amateurs, and they're not going to shut the door on them. So therefore, you're not going to see the big networks come on board and start showing these countries compete, the WSB and the APB. So naturally, that's not going to happen. So I believe it's creating turmoil within that organization, and they're scrambling.
Well, let me disagree with you. 100% I would disagree with you. AIBA and Dr. Wu have long ago decided that they don't need the United States, and they proved that they don't need the United States. The financial backing that they had from Europe, Africa, Asia has been phenomenal. They don't need the United States, and that would be verified to me by the fact that our current president, John Brown, and executive director Mike Martino had no choice but to get on board with AIBA, or they'd be out. But let me tell you this. let me tell you this. There's one thing. Let me mention that with Ho Kim being out, okay, yeah. There's the temporary director right now, executive director is Mr. Kareem Bouzidi, okay, very highly respected. You remember Kareem actually headed the now defunct AIBA training center, which was held in Algeria, okay, and that just went under. They closed that down for unexpected reasons, but once again, he's that. But more important, right now, Kareem is the current Chief Executive Officer of the World Series of Boxing. Okay? So I'm going to tell you that I think that there's one other name of a person that I think he's always had his eyes set on this position of Executive Director, and that's Dr. Tom Vergetz. He's the technical delegate and WSB World Series of Boxing supervisor, along with being the chairman of the AIBA Disciplinary Commission. I know he'd like that job, and I think he's probably going to get that job. The good thing about that might be because Dr. Vergetz is here in the United States, that might give them a little bit of insight, but I disagree with you 100%. I don't think that there's any turmoil in the organization at all. Okay. Something happened with Mr. Ho Kim, and Dr. Wu decided to cut bait and be done with him immediately. Okay, and we'll find out about what that is later.
And I'm hoping, and I'm not hoping you're right at all. I'm disagreeing with you because I think you just don't, whether you have a disagreement or something happened, you don't just fire someone that's doing their job and leading you down the right path.
Well,
okay?
that's why I said something crucial happened, and we don't know what it is.
Something happened.
It'll come out, but it had to be something that was totally opposite. Let me just say this: in the statement that Dr. Wu made, he mentioned here radio where he said, and I'm going to read this to you guys so you have it exactly. He said, "Therefore, I feel that the new vision and leadership are paramount for us to achieve our 4-year plan, which was unanimously approved at the AIBA Congress in Jeju. This was last year." And then he thanks Mr. Kim for helping out for the last 8 years. Now, just real quickly, just so you know, part of the Jeju Declaration was that AIBA in the next 4 years build and develop a tangible career protection plan for all AIBA boxers, especially in regard to the safety and post-boxing career welfare and options. That's why I'm telling you, with Dr. Tom Vergetz, who is part of the WSB in this, he's been the technical guy with USA Boxing forever. Something happened where I think Ho Kim and Tom Vergetz butted heads. And I think whatever it was contrary to the Jeju Declaration.
Okay.
And that's what Dr. Wu was saying, hey, Ho Kim, you got to go. But like I said, man, for them to be attached at the hip for 8 years and he just dropped his boy like a hot potato, it was something that was definitely, he felt detrimental to what they're trying to accomplish.
And you know what? Our time is up, and I'm going to leave you with this. I can care less. I can care less what AIBA does. I want to see the United States of America prosper and become the powerhouse that they once were. And I don't want to see our hands tied by AIBA or IOC or anyone else, okay? And if it means doing away and losing focus of sending the Americans to the Olympics and winning these gold medals, so be it. I just don't like the idea that our hands are tied and they're slapping us saying this is the way it's going to be done in the United States. This is the United States. We're going to do it the way we want to do it. And I think that's the way it has to be. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about the other organizations in the United States that are going to step up to the plate, and they need to step up to the plate to make this work and break that bind that we have on us, okay? Because I don't care what happens international. International is separate. That's an international, and if the United States wants to go international, and obviously they are with USA Boxing, there's other organizations that take the horse by the reins and run amateur boxing here in the United States and be successful doing that. And that's what we're going to talk about next week.
And just for me to put my last spin in, I'm going to tell you good luck with that. Because what amateur boxing, if you want to go back from Dr. Wu and kick him to the curb and say, we're going to call it amateur boxing. For amateur boxing, it's all about amateur boxers, male and female. It's all about the Olympics. Once every 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. And you're going to be on board with AIBA because AIBA,
they control it.
That's right. And Dr. Wu, right, I'm telling you right now, he's going to eventually be the president of IOC. And you're going to get on board or you're going to have to figure out a way somewhere. And that's where, like I said, that's where it comes in, Aurelio, that the rest of the world doesn't care about the United States. Dr. Wu has let them know you don't need the United States to go and win a gold medal in the Olympics. And that's all everybody cares about.
Well, there's some things brewing, okay? There's some things brewing. And like I'm saying, and it does mean doing away with that whole mentality about the Olympics.
Good luck with that.
Okay? So listen, we will see you next week. Tune in as we continue this hot topic and the amateur scene. We're going to start breaking that down, keeping everyone posted on what it is. And trust me, some things are going to happen, some good things in the United States of America.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's whatever happens, we're looking out for the kids. So,
and until then, till next week, keep them hands up.
Keep them up.